The
Charge.
Galactic Union had seen thousands of battles, but none like this. On the outer edge of known space floated Viewership Prime, a massive station built from silver-black metal and glowing energy rings. It was famous for one thing: the Star Arena, a place where honor, strength, and pride were tested in front of the entire galaxy. Every powerful species sent their champions here. Every species except humans. Humans were known but not respected. They were labeled as soft, slow, and too emotional. Their worlds were considered unstable, their bodies fragile, their technology messy but creative. The galaxy believed humans survived not by strength but by luck. That belief was about to be shattered. The princess of the arena. The crowd roared as Princess Kalith of the Dravari Empire stepped onto the glowing platform. She was tall, armored in living crystal, her golden eyes sharp with confidence. Her species was born for combat: stronger bones, faster reflexes, and battle instincts sharpened over generations. She had never lost, not once. Her victories were clean, fast, and humiliating for her opponents. Today was no different. She raised her weapon, a curved energy blade humming with power, and turned toward the crowd. "Send your challenger," she said, her voice echoing across the arena. "Let this be quick." The crowd cheered. Then silence. A gate opened on the far side of the arena. And out stepped a human. No armor, no weapon, just a simple dark suit and calm eyes. The crowd burst into laughter. A human here. Some spectators thought it was a joke. Others thought it was an insult. The princess stared in disbelief. "This must be an error," she said coldly. "That creature cannot fight." The announcer's voice echoed across the arena. "Challenger confirmed. Species, human, name, Elias Ward." The laughter grew louder. The human walked forward calmly, hands relaxed at his sides, eyes steady. He did not bow, he did not boast. He simply stood there. Princess Kalith laughed sharply. "You won't last a minute against me, human," she said. "Surrender now and save yourself the shame." Elias looked up at her. His voice was quiet, steady. "I'm not here to win," he said. "I'm here to prove something." The crowd mocked him. The princess narrowed her eyes. "Then you will learn your place." The rules of combat. The arena lights shifted to red. The announcer spoke again. "Combat rules are simple. No lethal strikes. Submission or incapacity ends the match." The platform hummed as gravity stabilized. The princess took a combat stance, muscles tense, blade glowing brighter. The human did nothing. He just stood there, watching, breathing slowly. The silence stretched. Then the horn sounded, the first strike. The princess moved instantly. To the crowd, she was a blur. Her blade sliced forward in a perfect arc, aimed to knock the human off his feet. But the strike never landed. At the last second, Elias stepped sideways. Not fast, not dramatic, just precise. The blade missed by a breath. A gasp rippled through the audience. The princess turned sharply and struck again, faster this time. Again, miss. Her third attack came with full power, energy flaring. The human leaned back, barely moving his feet. The blade passed in front of his face. Silence fell. The crowd stopped laughing. The princess froze. "How?" she whispered. She attacked again and again. Each time the human avoided the strike by inches. No wasted movement, no panic, just calm, confusion in the arena. The spectators leaned forward. The arena sensors flashed with data: speed, high, strength, moderate, reflexes, average. Yet somehow the human was untouched. The princess growled and stepped back, breathing harder now. "You mock me," she hissed. "I'm not mocking you," Elias replied calmly. "You're just predictable." That word struck her harder than any blow. Predictable. She roared and rushed him, unleashing a storm of attacks. The human moved like water, not faster, smarter. He watched her shoulders, her hips, the angle of her feet. Each move told him what came next. The crowd slowly realized the truth. The human wasn't dodging by speed. He was reading her. A dangerous realization. Princess Kalith leapt back, breathing heavily. "This is impossible," she muttered. "Your species is weak." Elias tilted his head slightly. "We're not weak," he said. "We're careful." He gestured around the arena. "You grew up strong. You never had to think about survival. On my world, everything tries to kill you." The princess hesitated. He continued calmly. "Storms, animals, disease, other humans. We learned early that strength alone isn't enough." He took a slow step forward. "We learned to watch, to adapt, to endure." The crowd was silent now. Even the announcer said nothing. The princess tightened her grip on her weapon. Her pride burned. "I will not lose to a soft-skinned creature," she charged again. But this time she was tired. The turning point, her movement slowed, just a little, enough. When she swung, Elias stepped inside her guard for the first time. He didn't strike her. He gently twisted her wrist. The blade fell. It clattered across the floor. The arena froze. The princess stumbled back, staring at her empty hand. The human stood in front of her, calm and steady. He had won. But he didn't attack. He didn't celebrate. He simply stepped back and bowed his head slightly. "Match over," he said. The silence was absolute. Then the announcer spoke, voice shaking. "Winner, human challenger." A moment that changed everything. The princess stood frozen. No one had ever disarmed her, not in training. Not in war, not ever. She looked at the human, her pride shattered, but something else rising in its place. Curiosity, respect, confusion. "You held back," she said quietly. "Yes," Elias replied. "Why?" He looked up at her. "Because I didn't come here to prove I'm stronger." He turned and walked toward the exit. "I came to prove you were wrong." The doors began to close. The crowd erupted into chaos. Whispers spread across the galaxy. And Princess Caliph stood alone on the arena floor, staring at the place where the human had stood. For the first time in her life, she wondered what else she had been wrong about. The Star Arena had never been this quiet. For several long moments after the match ended, no one spoke. No cheers, no laughter, no insults, just stunned silence. Princess Caliph stood at the center of the arena, staring at the spot where the human had stood only moments before. Her fingers curled slowly into a fist. She had lost, not by strength, not by speed, but by something far more dangerous: control, a mind in chaos. Back in her private chamber, Caliph paced like a trapped predator. Her attendants stood near the walls, silent and afraid. No one dared to speak. They had never seen their princess like this, unarmed, defeated, confused. She replayed the fight again and again in her mind. The calm eyes, the slow breathing, the way he waited. "He should not have been able to do that," she whispered. Her species trained from childhood. Combat was instinct. Movement was life. Yet the human had read her like an open book, and worst of all, he had shown mercy. Her pride burned. She turned sharply toward one of her aides. "Find him," she ordered. "Now." The human's quarters, Elias Ward sat alone in a quiet observation room overlooking the station's stars. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't smiling. He simply sat with his hands folded, watching the slow drift of galaxies beyond the glass. To him, the match had gone exactly as expected. Humans had learned long ago that strength fades but awareness lasts. Footsteps echoed behind him. The doors slid open. Princess Caliph entered. No armor, no weapon, just her royal cloak and a face full of storm. The guards stopped at the doorway. She waved them away. "I want to speak to him alone," she said. The doors closed. Silence returned. The confrontation. "You embarrassed me," she said coldly. Elias didn't turn around. "I didn't come to embarrass you. You made me look weak." He finally faced her. "No," he said calmly. "I showed you that strength isn't what you thought it was." Her jaw tightened. "You think you are superior now." "No," he replied. "I think you're angry because your world just got bigger." That struck deeper than she expected. She took a step forward. "Fight me again." Elias blinked. "This isn't a tournament." "I demand a rematch," she said. "No audience, no rules." He studied her for a moment, then he shook his head. "That wouldn't help you." Her eyes widened in anger. "Are you afraid?" He sighed softly. "No, I'm tired of fighting people who don't understand why they lost." The words cut sharper than any blade. She opened her mouth to respond, but stopped. Something in his voice wasn't mocking. It was disappointed. "The truth about humans, why are you really here?" she asked quietly. Elias turned back toward the stars. "Because your people think humans are weak," he said. "And when someone believes that, they eventually try to control us." She said nothing. "So I came here to show something different," he continued. "Not power, not dominance, discipline." He turned to face her again. "We survive because we adapt. We fall, we learn, we get back up." Over and over. Her voice was low now. "You fight like a teacher." He nodded slightly. "I was one." She paused. Then slowly, carefully, she lowered her head. "Not in surrender, in respect." "Teach me," she said. "A princess learns to stand still." The next cycle, the training began. Not in the arena, not with weapons, but in a quiet chamber with nothing but open space. Caliph stood in her battle stance. Elias stood across from her. "Don't move," he said. She frowned. "That is not training." "Yes, it is." Minutes passed. Her muscles twitched. Her instincts screamed. "Breathe," he said calmly. "Feel your weight, feel the room." She tried and failed. She shifted her feet. "Again," he said. Hours passed. No attacks, no strikes, only stillness. By the end, her body ached more than any battle. "This is pointless," she snapped. He shook his head. "This is the hardest part." She glared at him. "Standing still, listening," he corrected. The lesson of control. Over the next days, he taught her strange things. How to watch shadows instead of weapons. How to listen for breath instead of movement. How to wait. At first, she hated it. Then she began to understand. Her attacks had always come from instinct, predictable instinct. Humans survived because they learned to break patterns. One day, she attacked without warning. Elias moved aside and gently pushed her shoulder. She stumbled, stopped, stared at him. "You knew," she said. "I listened," he replied. Something shifted inside her. The watchful galaxy news spread fast. The undefeated princess training with a human. The arena champion learning restraint. Other species began to watch. Whispers turned into questions. If a human could teach her, what else could they do? The council grew uneasy. Power was shifting, not through weapons, through understanding. A quiet moment. One evening they stood watching the stars again. "Why help me?" Caliph asked. Elias thought for a moment. "Because someday," he said, "your people might stand between mine and extinction." She turned to him sharply. "And you think training me will stop that?" He met her gaze. "I think understanding will." Silence followed. Then she nodded slowly. "For the first time," she said, "I see your strength." He smiled faintly. "And for the first time," he replied, "you're learning how to use yours." The news traveled faster than any starship. The undefeated princess, Caliph of the Dravari Empire, had trained with a human. Not in combat, not in battle tactics, but in patience, awareness, and discipline. Across the Galactic Union, whispers turned into murmurs. Murmurs turned into discussions. Discussions turned into concern. Humans, once mocked, once underestimated, now feared. A threat emerges far beyond the Union's territories. A coalition of alien species gathered. They called themselves the Vorash Alliance, a collective built on strength, conquest, and intimidation. They had watched the Star Arena broadcasts carefully, and they had laughed at humans, until now. "We cannot allow this species to grow stronger," said Lord Viren, the Vorash leader, his tentacle-like limbs waving in agitation. "If humans learn control, strategy, discipline, nothing will stop them." A plan formed. The Vorash would strike. Not at humans directly, but at those allied with them. And they would test the Dravari Empire, the princess, and the human teacher. Caliph received word first. The council chambers buzzed with urgency. "The Vorash are mobilizing," a general reported. "They plan to attack our colonies near the rim sectors. Your Highness, you trained with that human. Are you prepared?" Caliph's eyes were steady, but her mind raced. "We are not attacking," she said quietly. "We will observe and defend." The human, Elias, had been summoned to the council. He listened carefully as alien leaders debated. "Your Highness," he said finally, "this is the moment humanity proves its strength." The test of humanity, the Vorash fleet arrived with a fury no one had expected. Thousands of ships armed with energy cannons capable of leveling entire colonies. The Dravari soldiers panicked. Their crystal armor couldn't match raw firepower. Kalith stood atop the command tower, scanning the battlefield. Elias stood beside her, calm, observant. "Watch," he said simply. "Humans do not fight like they should, they fight like they must." The humans stationed on the rim colonies were ready, not with advanced weapons, not with overwhelming numbers, but with strategy. Elias directed small teams. "Flank, divide. Protect civilians first." The aliens hesitated. They expected chaos. They expected panic. They got order. Human ships darted between Vorash cannons. Teams on the ground used minimal force, targeting weaknesses in the enemy's formation. They moved with precision, patience, discipline. Kalith watched in awe. Every move was calculated. Every decision saved lives. "They're extraordinary," she muttered. "They always were," Elias replied. "You just never noticed." The turning point after hours of battle, the Vorash fleet was exhausted. They had underestimated humans. Their strength alone could not overcome discipline. A small group of human pilots approached the Vorash flagship. The captain of the Vorash flagship sneered. "You are weak. This is your end." The human captain smiled. "Strength alone is never enough," he said. "You forgot something humans always remember: adapt, endure, learn." The Vorash flagship fired. The humans dodged calmly, exploiting every weakness. Within minutes, the flagship's weapons were disabled. The remaining Vorash ships surrendered or retreated. Across the rim sectors, colonies cheered. The legend of human endurance grew. The princess learns respect. Kalith approached Elias after the battle. Her armor was scratched, her hair loose, but her eyes burned with understanding. "You were right," she said. "I thought humans were weak, fragile, but you taught me that strength is not only in muscle or reflex, it is in thought, in patience, in willpower." Elias smiled faintly. "And you taught me something too," he said, "that even the strongest warriors can learn, that even pride can grow into respect." The princess nodded. "I underestimated humanity, and I will not make that mistake again." A galactic shift. News of the Vorash defeat spread across the galaxy. Every major species began re-evaluating humans. The soft species were now considered dangerous, not because of brute force, but because of unseen strength. Humans were invited to join councils, to share their strategies, to teach discipline and teamwork. Kalith stood with Elias as they watched the stars. "You changed my world," she said quietly. "And you changed mine," he replied. "Humans are not just survivors, we are adapters, teachers, fighters in a way no one expects." The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were not weak, they were not fragile. They were a force not of muscle, but of mind, heart, and will. And any species that ignored that truth would regret it. The HFY moment. For the first time in galactic history, humans were not just participants. They were leaders. Across the star arena, across the rim sectors, across distant colonies, the stories repeated. A human disarmed the undefeated princess. A human taught patience to a warrior. A human saved entire colonies without fighting a single unnecessary battle. Humans had become the measure of ingenuity, endurance, and courage. The galaxy watched, and it listened. Final scene: Kalith approached Elias one last time on the observation deck of the star arena. "You've changed everything," she said. "I only reminded the galaxy of what they never saw," he replied. She smiled faintly, her pride softened by respect. "Then let us make sure everyone remembers," she said. Together, human and princess, teacher and student, stared at the stars. The galaxy was vast, challenges were endless. But one thing was clear: humanity would always rise. And from that day forward, no alien underestimated a human again.